Hi, my name is Randall Rapier, and I'm Director of Consulting with Exergy Energy. We are your concierge utility, and we work to ensure that your power works for you. During this discussion, we're going to cover a couple topics. We're going to talk about the energy environment today and where we are as businesses from an energy perspective. And then we're going to talk about where we want to be as both business customers and then as corporate citizens. And then we're going to talk about how we can get there. So when we talk about where we are today, we feel like the energy industry is not meeting the needs of the business customer as a whole. We break that into three areas: the market, legislative bodies, and then the grid. So when we talk about the market, energy contract processes are outdated. Typically, they look to protect the customer from the volatility of a market so you're not exposed, and then lock in the lowest rate. But there are several things that are not taken into consideration that should be. Things like the company having backup power on site and how that affects your energy contracts. The net result is that customers are paying too much for their energy, and then they have very little visibility into where the money is going and how those contracts were structured to begin with. So the market is not meeting the needs of the business customer. And then legislative bodies are creating challenges for business leaders. We're in a march to net zero, but the big problems for business leaders when they're looking at making decisions is there's no clear technology path of how to get from where we are today to where we're going. And then you have to be concerned with the dynamic where your city, your county, your state, or the federal government at any moment could produce legislation that requires you to meet certain greenhouse gas density metrics, and there's no consensus on those metrics, and then provide penalties if you don't meet those metrics without a clear footprint of how to get from where you are to where you want to be. So that uncertainty, creates challenges for business leaders. And then the grid itself. The grid, there's two components to that where the grid is not meeting the needs of the business customer. So first is weather. It's something that cannot be controlled. 90% of all power outages are weather related, and the numbers increase every year. As a matter of fact, we've seen a 14-fold increase in weather related outages in just the last 10 years. The other area is infrastructure. So creating enough energy, from an infrastructure perspective, create enough energy to meet demand of the customers, and then transporting via transmission lines to the end customers. So those areas, the grid is not meeting the needs of the business customers. And we look at the increase in the amount of renewable energy that's being layered on into the energy mix in the national grid. And then the infrastructure is just not able to get that from point A to point B in a reliable way. And that's not even factoring in the fact that, or just across the horizon, we're going to see energy demands increase astronomically as we start electrifying more things like transportation. We just do not have the infrastructure for that increased demand and to provide reliability for the end customer. So we look at, there's an overarching body that looks at the health of the grid from a national perspective, and that's called NERC. And this last year, they released their summer assessment. And what they've come to is a conclusion that 2/3 of North America is at risk of not having enough energy to meet demand this summer. But it's only an elevated risk if we have abnormal or above normal summer peak conditions. Well, we have those. we're in the middle of abnormal summer conditions in many parts of the country, and what NERC is said is that those dynamics with the infrastructure that's in place today and the amount of available energy and capacity, 2/3 of the country is at risk for not being able to meet demand. And we feel like that is just unacceptable for the business customer. So where we are today, the energy industry is not meeting the needs of the business customer. So where do we want to be? And when we say that, we're talking about as a business customer and then also as a corporate citizen. So first, we want to be energy efficient. We want to use as little power as possible to perform our business functions. And if we do that, we will lower our energy cost because we're using less energy, and then we'll also reduce our carbon footprint. So we want to be as energy efficient as possible. We also want to be energy secure. And by energy secure, I mean, I want to be secure in the fact as a business owner that when I turn the lights on at the beginning of the day at my factory, that the power is going to be there and lights are going to come on. I want to know that the boilers and the chillers that I'm using in my processes as I build product, and I've got $150,000 worth of product that's on that line that's at risk. I want to know that the power for those chillers and those boilers are going to be there, that I'm not going to have a power outages, which is going to impact, my not only my product, but then also scheduling and labor for the next several weeks as I kind of untangle from that event. So I want to be energy secure, and that means that even if the grid fails, I as a business do not. So we want to be energy efficient, we want to be energy secure, and we want to reduce our expenses. So every business leader knows that the best way to reduce expenses is for everyone within our organization to know that we have good visibility in where our spend is going. So that involves having the right contracts with good transparency and good visibility. So that's where we want to be as a company and as a corporate citizen. We want to be energy secure, we want to be energy sufficient, and then we want to reduce our expenses that are related to those areas. So we know where we are, we know where we want to be. How do we get there? That's where the services of the concierge utility, Exergy Energy, comes to bear, and we make sure that your power works for you. We start by planning and managing your path to net zero. That typically looks like energy efficiency projects. So we look at low-hanging fruit, like, have you converted your lighting to LED? Do you have high energy using equipment that's inefficient that could be replaced with more energy efficient equipment? And then we install, we manage, and we maintain those pieces of equipment and those energy efficiency projects. And we do it as a service, so there's no CapEx to you. Other than that, we also look at green energy options. So if you have an ESG goal in mind, or if your board starts to demand that you lower your carbon footprint, your customers start demanding it, your employees demand it, or as we mentioned earlier, if your local legislative bodies put restrictions on you and demand that you lower your carbon footprint, we can provide green energy options on the front of the meter to help you in that area as well. So that's what we mean when we talk about planning and managing your path to net zero. The next thing that we provide is resiliency as a service. So we provide full facility backup power that's equal to your peak load. So you are energy secure. If the grid goes down, you stay up and running. Grid fails, you do not. We provide that as a service. So we design it, we install it, we manage it, we maintain it as a service. So there's no CapEx cost to you. You're not charged until after it's commissioned and it's up and running, and then it's a managed service fee. At the end of our agreement, end of our term of our agreement, we turn over ownership of those assets to you. And you can retain us to still perform maintenance and then to manage participation grid relief programs, but you own the asset. That is delivered through our solution called Facility Secure. Now, for certain industries like hospitals, certain nursing homes that have patients that have critical, life-saving equipment that they're relying upon, they're mandated by law to have particular life safety applications segmented off on their power panels and have backup power specifically for those applications and those applications only with on-site fuel. We provide that as a service as well through our Life Secure solution. And again, it's delivered as a service, no CapEx cost to the customer. So we provide the resiliency as a service with zero CapEx to the customer. And then the third thing and area that we provide value in is in expense management. So it starts with having the right state-of-the-art energy contracts in place that take into account the fact that you have full facility backup power on site. And then we provision those contracts in the best way. The next piece of it is that we have integrated Energy Star's portfolio manager into our client portal so that you can see how much power you've used, what the costing is at a facility level, as a portfolio level. You can also measure your greenhouse gas emission densities, and then you can set goals on how you want to reduce that. And then if you're not getting there fast enough, you can set projects within the Energy Star portfolio manager to help you get there, and we assist with that. And then the third thing, and maybe the most important thing, is that we monetize your load. So because we're a concierge utility and we have a holistic view of your backup power, your energy contracts, and then how you manage the expenses, we're able to manage participation in grid relief programs. And they typically take two forms. One is helping to reduce demand on the grid. When the grid's under stress, they reach out to business customers who are high energy users, and if you take your load off of the grid, they'll compensate you for that. And because we have backup power on site, we can manage that seamlessly to you. You don't even know what's happening. And then we receive compensation for that. The second way is because we put the right contracts in place. We've locked in prices for you for your energy, so you're protected from the market and you have low energy rates locked in. But then when there's a heat event and we have to pull your load off of the grid and pricing in the market is going through the roof, we're able to take advantage of that volatility and we resell that energy back to the market and we take that spread. That's our profit margin, and we bring that back and we share in that profit. And then the grid monetization programs, we do a shared savings. So we're incented to make as much money for you as possible because we share in a small portion of those savings. And monetization of your load goes to offset the cost of your managed backup power, and sometimes it can offset that completely. So that's how we get there. Typically, a customer will reach out to us at this point and say, what are the next steps? How can I take a look at whether or not Exergy Energy can help and provide those concierge services for my company, and ensure that our power works for us? Next steps are we gather 1 year of billing for budgetary analysis purposes. So our operations team can look at that billing. That's a year of natural gas, a year of electricity billing. We see how you use your energy, and we base our financial budgetary assessment off of that. Then we set up an engineering call to verify what's going on in your energy environment. What challenges are you trying to take care of? And then any projects that are on your radar that you really want to try to accomplish. And we verify all of that. And then we provide you with a budgetary analysis at no cost to you to show you what would the cost of our managed service be, how much money can we bring back to help offset that cost, and then what is the net result that you'll be paying for backup power as a service, energy efficiency projects, carbon reduction, and then also a really good expense management tool so that you can manage your business well. I hope this conversation has been helpful, and if you would like further information or you would like to engage Exergy Energy in our concierge utility services, please reach out to us through our website contact page at exergyenergy.com.